azachifundo kuti akonzekere bwino ndi kutenga nawo gawo mu zikondwererozi. Mutu wa jubilii imeneyi ndi apaulendo achiyembekezo. Tiyeni tonse tikhale anthu achiyembekezo cha zabwino, pakuti Mulungu sataya wake makamaka ngati tinkhulupirira.
Wairesi yakanema ya Luntha ndi wairesi ya mpingo wa Katolika yomwe imafikira anthu onse mdziko la Malawi komanso mayiko akunja. Zina mwa zomwe wairesi imachita ndi monga kujambula ndi kuwulutsa mauthenga ndi mapulogalamu osiyanasiyana ndi cholinga chofuna kukudziwitsani, kukuphunzitsani komanso kukusangalatsani, kujambula nyimbo za makwaya komanso oyimba ena, kukonza ndi kujambula mapulogalamu osiyanasiyana okhudza za umoyo, maphunziro, chilungamo ndi mtendere, maufulu a anthu, zachilengedwe ndi zagwidwe ka ntchito pakati pa amayi ndi abambo, kujambula ndi kuwulutsa miyambo ya mapemphero, misonkhano ya mabungwe osiyanasiyana ngakhalenso zipani za ndale, komanso kuthandiza kutukula ochita malonda ang'onoang'ono ndi akulu omwe powalengezera malonda awo. Zonsezi zimatheka pa mitengo yokambirana. Onerani kanema wa Luntha pa matchannel awa: Starsat channel 474, Star Times channel 474, Top Star channel 474, Zook channel 51, Clear channel 007, Go TV channel 807, Azam channel 386. Komanso mutha kutitsatira ndi kuonera mapulogalamu osiyanasiyana pa Luntha Television Facebook page komanso Luntha TV Official pa YouTube. Mutha kutipeza ku maofesi athu ku area 2 mu mzinda wa Lilongwe kapena kuimba foni pa manambala awa 0994 442 058 kapena 0883 815 055. Bwerani kuti tikuthandizeni kuti ntchito zanu zionekere kwa anthu. Luntha Television, kubweretsa Luntha pa khomo panu.
Watching Luntha TV, and it's time for our 7:30 news bulletin. My name is Thandi Zumara. Let's have a look at our headlines. Pope Francis amplifies his appeal for peace and disarmament. Minority sector groups suffer financial stunting in the 2025-2026 fiscal budget. Moli case constitutionality reference fate on Friday. And in other news, over 400 killed as Israel unleashes strikes on Gaza, breaking ceasefire. We do have the details to these stories and more. Just stay with us. Offering further confirmation of his ongoing recovery, Pope Francis has written Italy's leading newspaper from his hospital room to call for disarming the earth in the context of the various wars currently underway, including Ukraine and Gaza. In a moment of tension, the Pope calls for special attention to language, calling on journalists especially to feel the full importance of words. We have more details on this Vatican News report read by Herbert Kadanda.
Pope Francis addressed his letter dated March 14 to Luciano Fontana, the editor-in-chief of Corelli Dera Silla, Italy's paper of record. The journalist had written to the pontiff to offer the best wishes of his recovery and to invite him to offer a brief reflection on the international situation. The Pope wrote to his present struggle with double pneumonia, now in his 5th week in the hospital, has given him deepened perspective on the absurdity of war. The Pope called for reinforced efforts by international organizations and diplomacy, as well as religious groups. The Holy Father noted that while war does nothing but devastate communities and the environment, does nothing but devastates communities and the environment without offering solutions to conflicts. Diplomacy and international organizations need new life and credibility. The letter goes on to say the religions, moreover, can draw on spirituality of people to rekindle the desire of fatherhood and justice, the hope of peace, adding that all this requires commitment, work, silence, and words. The Pope has since called for united effort, which heavenly grace will not cease to inspire and accompany.
The Cluster on Social and Community Affairs in Parliament has established that minority and vulnerable sectors in the country have suffered financial backlashes in the 2025-2026 fiscal year. For example, the cluster has noted that government is owing TVETA a levy of 70 billion Malawi kwacha, despite knowing that the money is an obligation that has to be met. This development has been described as a setback in the development of vocational skills, as the money would have been used to construct new community colleges to empower more youth in the country. Rashida Matandika was at Parliament and she reports.
The cluster co-chair, Savio Kafafa, said that TVETA, through a mandate that is stipulated in the law, collects 1% of levy from the private sector and government as support towards the running of vocational training colleges in the country. As it is, through the meetings that the cluster held with TVETA, it has been noted that government has failed to honor its obligation, which is affecting the institution.
Or TVETA, using that law, has been going around asking the private institutions to comply by that law. But that law, when it was being enacted, it did not spare the Malawi government itself. So what has been happening ever since that law was passed in Parliament, it is the government that most of the times doesn't pay the TVETA levy, because the Malawi government is supposed to pay the TVETA levy. And some 7 years ago, the issue even went to court, and the government at that time had to pay about 70 billion in arrears. But after settling the court issue, the Malawi government has stopped submitting the TVETA levy. It's almost 7 years now that they haven't submitted the TVETA levy, the 1% of the government's total wage bill. And that is where the problem is coming from. And when we are talking about the 70 billion that is lacking in supporting the TVETA issues, it is partly
In the same way, the Social and Community Affairs cluster has also found out that with the postponement of donor funds from other international organizations, childhood education has been affected. This is because ECD is not very much considered, despite being one of the important areas of development of the country in as far as child development is concerned. The cluster has since recommended that ECD, just like TVETA, should start receiving levy from government in the private sector for its sustainability.
The government was supposed to recruit all the 36,000, but for 3 years now, they only managed to recruit 2,000, and the rest are still remaining. They haven't been recruited. So as a committee, we are concerned because this is a population that we normally call vulnerable and marginalized. And the same goes to some persons with disabilities, their budgets. That's why we were saying for Makoda, they need about 2.1 billion in terms of an extra budgetary support. So the groups that we normally call vulnerable and marginalized, we feel it is the government's obligation to make sure that their funding should not be should be funded adequately. I should put it in that way. They have increased the budget, but it is not enough, and it is not addressing the issues that we were seriously looking for as a committee.
The cluster has recommended that all minority and vulnerable sectors should be considered and have funds increased. The cluster is yet to receive feedback during ministerial responses. Rashida Matandika, Luntha TV, Lilongwe.
The High Court in Lilongwe is expected to deliver its ruling on whether or not to refer the 5 billion Malawi Savings Bank defrauding case involving businessman Leston Mooney, former Secretary to Treasury Cliff Chiunda, and former Secretary to Government Lloyd Mohara. Defense lawyer Kalikeni Kapali says the court was expected to deliver its ruling on Tuesday, 18th of March 2025, and that the court told them it was ready with the ruling but could not deliver as some parties were not available due to some miscommunications. Defense, through Kapali, applied to have the matter referred to the Constitutional Court. Here is part of what Kapali had to say.
On both sides, both the prosecution as well as the defense, when we came to court on the 5th of March, the court was supposed to have delivered a ruling on an application to have the matter referred to the Chief Justice for certification. It indicated that it wasn't ready with the ruling. But prior to that, the court had blocked this week for a possible commencement of trial. So everybody thought that trial wouldn't commence before that ruling was delivered. So the main prosecutors didn't come to court, and told the accused persons and their counsel also didn't come to court because they thought this was a day for a ruling on the application that I'd made on behalf of my client. So we met the judge in chambers. She indicated the ruling was ready, and we agreed that the ruling is going to be delivered towards the end of the week, and then we're going to meet a week later for directions.
Minister of Trade Victor Mumba has emphasized that Malawians should take the lead in addressing the country's economic challenges instead of depending on foreign assistance, which is why certain imports are being restricted. Admitting that policy implementation may come with some mistakes, Mumba has encouraged Malawians to concentrate on the overall goals of the new measures rather than dwelling on the errors. Mumba, who was speaking on Tuesday evening during a press briefing, also highlighted market instability as a significant challenge for traders and farmers, noting that this often leaves many, especially women, with unsold perishable goods like tomatoes that end up rotting. Here is part of what Mumba had to say.
As ministry, we have been conducting trainings with the help of UNDP and World Bank. We call them incubation centers to train our people in terms of value addition. That's why some of them helped to get certified with MBS, and their quality was seen it improving to where it is now. That we say, okay, these ones, we can tell the Malawians that buy from this one because we are sure of what, and there are many others who are upcoming, we're still training. If you see our budget, most of it is training SMEs and cooperatives on value addition. So, in terms of quality, I'm not worried. What I'm worried about is consistency. That's where I'm worried. In terms of standards and quality, that is the least thing I'm worried about. But I'm worried of consistency, and we'll be able to consistently supply. That's why in my statement, I made a plea to Malawian local producers to make sure that they have products that are good quality, standard, but above that, consistency in terms of numbers and increasing production. Yes, you spoke of business and the like, but I know some stories of Malawian entrepreneurs who, because of the predatory business practices by our friends, most people from outside, when they come, they've got this other issue of coming to Malawi, lowering down their prices, so that they take you out of what? Business. I'm into construction. In Botswana, when the Chinese came to Botswana, they were marine robbers, Group 5, Robex, was big companies from Africa. When they came to Botswana, they went on low cost. Others, their prices are 200 million pula. They are 50,000. You guys, how can you make profit on this one? Then these are the companies started getting jobs. Chinese companies started getting jobs. These African companies, all of them left Botswana.
The Malawi Network of Older Persons Organizations, MANEPO, has called on communities to help older people access medical attention promptly. This appeal comes as MANEPO implements the BMZ project aimed at providing integrated health services to older men and women in Zomba, Balaga, and Mashinga districts. The project focuses on those affected by HIV and AIDS and non-communicable diseases, NCDs. Charity Chilanga has more details in this report.
BMZ project manager Maria Masie disclosed that they have trained healthcare workers, health surveillance assistants, and community volunteers to enhance health monitoring, including blood pressure checks for older people. Masie emphasized that promoting inclusive healthcare policies, establishing community-based support networks, and addressing unique health requirements can improve healthcare quality and accessibility for older persons. According to Masie, the initiative also tackles challenges like long travel distances to health facilities. She added that some elderly individuals turn to traditional medicine, potentially worsening their health conditions and hindering access to preventive services such as diabetes screenings. Furthermore, the challenge of traveling to health centers results in elderly people often foregoing regular health screenings and treatments, ultimately leading to delayed diagnosis and inadequate management of health issues.
When another person is sick, she or he didn't know, by then he didn't know what he or she was suffering from, because the communities, the healthcare centers in our Malawian setting, they are within 5 kilometers, others 10 kilometers, 7 kilometers. So it was difficult for another person to go and access services in the neighboring health centers because of the distance. The other thing, because of this distance, some distance was also forcing these older people to just keep on using the traditional medicine the same way they were doing in the past, thereby worsening their conditions. As well as the baby screening. Someone cannot just move from his or her house to go to the facility for baby screening, for diabetes screening. So because these services are in their communities right now, they are able to get screened each and every month. We've brought the services closer to them in their communities, and when they are sick, they are now then referred to the health centers. So we have solved the distance challenge, as well as encouraging them to seek health services from the hospitals instead of using the traditional medicine.
The BMZ project, launched in 2023, is funded by the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, BMZ, through Help Age German.
If you're just joining us, know that you're watching news coming to you live from Bishop Navy Media Center, and today with me, Tandi Zumara. Before we proceed, let's have another look at the headlines. Pope Francis amplifies his appeal for peace and disarmament. Minority sector groups suffer financial stunting in the 2025-2026 fiscal budget. Moli case constitutionality reference fate on Friday. And in other news, over 400 killed as Israel unleashes strikes on Gaza, breaking ceasefire. Proceeding with the news, the Truck Drivers Union of Malawi has issued a stern warning to the government, demanding immediate action to address the rampant lawlessness on the roads in Tete Province and Maputo in Mozambique. According to Francis Mkandarire, who is the vice president of the union, the lives of their members are in danger and they cannot deal with the matter on their own. The truck drivers have warned that if the issue is not resolved immediately, they will suspend the transportation of goods in and from Mozambique. Ramano Shiwocha has more details in this report.
In an interview, Gandawile emphasized that over 15 truck drivers have been assaulted and the union is seeking a lasting solution to the problem. In January 2024, the union wrote a letter to the Minister of Foreign Affairs demanding a remedy to various assaults faced by Malawian truck drivers.
Okay, we understand that truck drivers here in Malawi, they have been assaulted when they are doing their duties in Mozambique, whereby as a truck union of Malawi, you have complained about this and you have given the government to this.
We have given and to find solution to the problems we are facing. These issues, they started in Mozambique a long time ago, especially just after the post-elections which happened in Mozambique. From there, our drivers have been attacked day in, day out. So we have been reporting these issues to our relevant authorities, starting from our embassy in Mozambique, our consulate general in Tete, and our high commissioner in Maputo.
The situation in Mozambique has been volatile since the general election held on October 9, 2024, which were marred by disputes and violence. The union is now calling on Malawi government to engage with the Mozambique government to find a solution to the problem. The Truck Drivers Union of Malawi has warned that if the issue is not resolved immediately, they will suspend the transportation of goods in and from Mozambique. This move is aimed at ensuring the safety of their drivers. The Minister of Foreign Affairs spokesperson Charles Nkalamba was not available for a comment as his phone was off. However, the union remains resolute in its demand, emphasizing that the safety of their members is paramount. For Luntha News, this is Emmanuel Chiwocha.
The government has called on the public to stop selling their unharvested farm produce to avert hunger, which is likely to hit the country this year. The call arrives at a time farmers have started harvesting crops, in particular maize and rice. In a statement, Commissioner for the Department of Disaster Management Affairs, Dodma Charles Kalemba, has said that people are selling their whole farm's worth of crops without keeping some for food. Phyllis Chizombe has more details in this report.
The statement alleges that the department has lain to disbelief the tendency of selling unharvested crops to devious traders. In an interview, Dotma spokesperson Chibiro Kamula said the traders are taking advantage of marginalized communities in the rural areas, as some chiefs are also taking a leading role as they are offered a token of appreciation for facilitating the malpractice. Dotma spokesperson Chibiro Kamula said the tendency might fuel the anticipated hunger in Malawi.
We have learned with disbelief the tendency of selling unharvested crops to devious traders. We have found out that the traders are taking advantage of marginalized communities in rural areas, and some chiefs are also taking a leading role as they are offered a token of appreciation for facilitating the malpractice, and this can worsen food insecurity in the country. Unfortunately, this tendency is becoming rampant when government, through us as a department and various maintenance partners, working day and night in providing assistance to over 5.7 million food insecure people across the country, and this year's Lean Season Food Insecurity Response Program. I think we should be blunt with the truth. You know, with the prevalence on cutting off aid by various donors, mobilizing resources for responding to food insecurity will not be easy, and communities need to exercise caution. Seriously, you cannot sell all your produce, especially when you haven't even harvested. So we are calling upon councils and various stakeholders to sensitize and warn communities against inconsiderate sale of their harvests.
The call comes high on the heels of reports that some farmers in the southern region are reportedly harvesting maize which is not fully dried, allegedly for fear of thieves, besides drying it to make flour. Local media reports indicate that farmers in Palombe district attributed the exorbitant prices of maize on the market is forcing people to harvest maize before it is thoroughly dry. For Luntha News in Lilongwe, this is Fales Chizombe.
Now, in other news, over 400 Palestinians have been killed and more than 560 wounded as Israel launched a massive assault on Gaza, shattering the fragile 2-month-old ceasefire with Hamas. Tuesday's attack took place across Gaza, including in Khan Yunis and Rafah in southern Gaza, Gaza City in the north, and central areas like Deir el-Bala. Many of those killed in the attacks were children, Gaza's Ministry of Health has confirmed. We have more details in this Al Jazeera News report read by Herbert Gadanda.
Hamas, which governs Gaza, said it viewed Israelis' attacks on unilateral cancellation of the ceasefire that began on January 19. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said he ordered the military to take strong action against Hamas over its refusal to release captives taken from Israel and agree to offers to extend the ceasefire. The Israel military said on Telegram that it was conducting extensive strikes on terror targets belonging to Hamas. While Israel did not explicitly declare an end to the ceasefire, senior officials indicated that the assault on Gaza would continue. Israel's 18-month war on Gaza has leveled much of the enclave, reducing homes, hospitals, and schools to rubble. Israeli forces have so far killed more than 48,000 people in the territory, according to Palestinian health authorities.
That Al Jazeera News report read by Herbert Kadanda also brings us to the end of what we had for you in this edition of our news bulletin. But before we go, here's a reminder of our headlines. Pope Francis amplifies his appeal for peace and disarmament. Minority sector groups suffer financial stunting in the 2025-2026 fiscal budget. Moli case constitutionality reference fate on Friday. And in other news, over 400 killed as Israel unleashes strikes on Gaza, breaking ceasefire. My name is Tandi Zumara. Thank you for keeping me company and do continue following the rest of our programs right here on Luntha TV. Do remember that you can also catch us on social media. We are on Facebook at Luntha Television and on YouTube we are at Luntha TV Official. Goodbye for now and do stay safe.